let me set the context once again because since morning we have been talking about the tier 2, tier 3 cities and the cities which are coming up now and beyond metros. I mean, because metros are already there, so we know what the situation is all about. Now, Haryana is one of the upcoming developing states where actually we see that lot of towns are coming up which are going to be smart cities in future and will develop as metros only. So we'll talk about what are the challenges and opportunities which are there so that everybody gets enlightened, and what are the challenges that you are also facing and what are the practical solutions that we can provide. So we'll be talking about it. So since the context is already set, as we start the discussion, so let's start with the first and foremost thing which comes up in the mind when you talk about architects. So I mean, being in tier 2, tier 3 city or the upcoming cities which are going to be future metros, what do you feel are the advantages being an architect in this area, in this vicinity right now?
If we talk about the opportunities in architecture in this context or in this region, I think buildings are getting more refined day by day, and it is getting more user friendly, and the needs are getting very specific, and there are a lot of opportunities in terms of building in different diversity, I can say. Earlier we have 2 or 3 simple types of buildings, but it is the era where we have high-rise buildings, we have commercial buildings, we have urban markets, we have a lot of spaces. So everywhere we need architecture, and architects have a great impact and a role to play with. And I think the core field of architecture is shaping our lives, our attitude, our psychology, and our lifestyle. So there are a lot of opportunities because architecture shapes the society, I think. If we design something, if we are coming here in this Noor Mahal, the architecture is different, the feeling is different. If it will be a Radisson hotel, so the feel was different. So architecture is basically giving a lot of opportunities here. So next we'll discuss I think.
No, thank you so much. I think you told it in simple words only that there's a lot of opportunities which are available here, because in metros you have clutter actually. Yes. I think here you have abundance, so that's, and you have a playground to play. I would feel that way. It is a lot more opportunity which are available here rather than in metros. So thank you so much. I mean, that was really insightful. I would like to talk to Mr. Neeraj Gupta now. What are the challenges that you face? Like he said, there are a lot of opportunities. So because there are consumers now, because there is a difference between the psyche of consumers sitting in metros and beyond metros, and you are sitting in an upcoming market. So since he said there is a lot of opportunity, I would like to understand what are the challenges that you face with the consumers here in this kind of market when it is growing and upcoming.
See, there are a lot of challenges. In fact, we are struggling more with challenges rather than architecture. It is basically the commercial viability between the thinking of an architect and the needs of a consumer, right? And keeping in view his budget also. Everywhere we have to fight with that. You have to reach out to his mind, what he wants, and you really want him to make trust with your thoughts. He should think the way you like. He should see his project from your eyes, so that a trust, a hope can be made. He must know that whatever I am designing, that is for his good self and for better life. Because in architecture, I think it's not only designing, we are providing lifestyle also to the family. The more of architecture in our cities, like I've come to Kurukshetra. In those cities, you have to fight with the mindset, the attitude. You have to give them both. In the initial phases, what we think we should give time to him in understanding his lifestyle, his needs, and gradually making his mind to more comfortable how the house is, how his project should be defined.
And making him understand about the architectural benefits also when you are involved there.
Certainly, architectural benefits, we are giving him aesthetics also, we are giving him lifestyle also. And in any case, whosoever is designing, our fee and that is also, he is getting value, he is getting worth for this.
Very true, sir. I mean, educating them first of all about architecture, and then realizing their dreams. So both are equally a contradictory thing, but yet challenging. So you have to realize both. Yeah, thank you so much for this insight. I would like to talk to now architect Meenakshi Chhabra I mean, how are you trying to build some kind of ecological or ecologically balanced design? I would say, because in metros nowadays we see it is completely cluttered, it's jungle of concrete and all that. So since we know all those pitfalls which we have already learned from the metros right now, how do you think we are trying to do the landscaping and designing in such a fashion that we do not see the similar kind of thing happening here? So what are the challenges and opportunities? I mean, collectively, if you can tell.
See, both ways. If we say it's a concrete jungle, we understand metros are concrete jungle at the moment. And when we see tier 2 and tier 3 cities, we have lot of land bank, human power, everything is available in abundance, right? So what is required is that we have to add in lots of ecological, like you're saying, lot landscape elements or more sustainable elements, but sustainable in the sense that it has to be worked out in a good way. For example, it's not that I'm using a sustainable element and getting it procured from 1000 kilometers away, then it's not sustainable, right? So that is one. Then using the basic concepts of climatology, because here, because of open land banks, I have proper setbacks that can be used. So use of climatology or use of proper wind movements that can be used. So basic concepts, we have to again come down to the ground rules of designing that we learned at college level. So that is somehow because of the limitations in metro cities, we have either forgotten or taken for granted. So that needs to be relearned and redone. So only growing a tree is not a solution for a green design or a green building. So that's much more than that. Because down the line in Corona also we have understood that people, when you are bound into a particular space and you cannot go out. Right. So your space itself has to have that kind of oxygen or that kind of freshness that you want to stay inside. So people nowadays, we are designing courtyard houses now. So again the concepts are coming back that way.
So I love this. In fact, you have summarized it very well. Rather, I was when you said that Corona thing, I remember there are a lot of people in Mumbai, because there the flats are very, very small and all. They got depressed in their side and they wanted to run out of their houses. I mean, I know so many of the cases. Some of my colleagues were also there. So I mean, what you are saying is very true. But just second part of it, what are the challenges? Because it is not easy to make people understand.
Lots of it. Because again, when I say we are developing tier 2 and tier 3 cities, we also know that the population is growing, right? So down the line, during this progress level, we are going to face the same challenges that the metro are facing, right? Ideally, you will see that we are already facing such challenges. We are already facing, for example, traffic jams in Karnal also, right? So those challenges are in any case going to come, okay? So they have to be worked out in a place. Again, I always think people before progress. That would mean advancement या development थोड़ा कम चलेगा, but let's maintain the quality of life first. That is what I understand.
I mean, thank you so much, and it is really important because the quality of life is what we are working for. It is not the for the progress.
We can go a little slower also, na. You don't have to force things, because problem क्या है ना, हम देखो, when we are building a nation, we need to first of all plan it in a proper way. So pre-planning is required. Then just jumping into the conclusion, वो कहते हैं ना कि बिल्डिंग हम ऐसे नहीं बनाना शुरू कर देते ना, सबसे पहले हम उसको कॉन्सेप्ट डिजाइन करते हैं. सो वो कॉन्सेप्ट पे अभी हमें काम करना है. सो लेट्स नॉट फोर्स और लेट्स नॉट bump into getting the development done. Let's first do our homework ready and let's make our city equipped enough कि हम उस development को संभाल सकें. That way.
Yes, you're right. Thank you so much. I mean, this was very, very insightful. So I would like to talk to now architect Deepak Sachdeva on the point that there is a challenge on affordability also. I mean, how do you think people here in upcoming cities, are they equipped enough to get a next level kind of spends done on their housing, or they are still looking for affordable, because there is a gap between those. So what kind of a scenario is running and how are you facing it and how are you resolving it? So from that perspective.
What I think, the basic main thing is that कि the affordable housing, अगर हम देखें तो 80% of the population
falls in the affordable housing.
Very true.
If we ignore it, then we see there's fall in the economy. So what I think economical or affordable housing is the basic, it is the growth, it has the potential to propel the overall economy of the country or the state.
Very true.
Okay. And then
across.
if we see the survey, the Ahmedabad has emerged as the most affordable housing market in the country
Very good.
in the year 2003,
Right.
23.
Right.
Okay. So the people see the budget.
So I got the point that you are saying 80% of the people still are looking for affordable housing.
Ji.
So what are the challenges that you face? Because you have to adhere to the principles what she said right now.
The
So
challenges-
what is the challenge? I mean, what is the paradox that you are facing? I mean, affordable housing, yet it has to be green, eco-friendly and all that. So what are the challenges that you are facing?
Actually, the main challenge is the budget. Because we don't see the green housing yard and eco-friendly. It is not so important, what I think. The main thing is the budget. The people see the budget and they go for the affordable housing. But basically, it has a general potential to propel the economy.
Right, sir. So thank you so much. I mean, I think you have enlightened on what consumer psyche is and what is affordability all about. And the second part I'll talk about in the next round of the discussion only because this is more a infra part. So before that, coming to now architect Himanshu Suri, I would like to have some quick tips from you, which you can give to the audience here to make a eco-friendly design. First of all, what are those quick tips and how to put it in the mind of the people, because I am sure consumers are not aware of those principles, because this fraternity only knows this. So first of all, what are those quick solutions, and then how are you going to pitch it in the mind of the consumer so that actually you are going to realize what we are expecting from there.
So when we talk about ecology and ecological designs, the first thing is to go back to the basics. Go back to the basics of architecture, see what the ancestors were doing and what the original architecture of the region is. You get those principles right, you get back to the basics, you are there, you've done your ecological part.
So talk about a few, sir. I mean, what are those basics that so that people can also learn from here that okay, minimalization, sustainability.
So as ma'am said, courtyard in the houses, they've come back. You see the postmodern era Chandigarh houses, the 70s houses, you see the cross ventilation movements they've already planned there. We've all quit that. We do have very high panel doors, we have high glazings, but we've quit those small ventilators above those doors. Right? So basics of architecture, the basics of sun control. You need sun in the winters with a composite climate, but you want to quit that sun during the summers. So your basics of architecture, they have already resolved those things. It's just that we've forgotten it. We've gone more to fancy things and we've gone away from the basics. So we just have to go back. It's all sorted.
So how are you helping consumers understand? Because I mean, how are you doing it? I mean, is it possible? Is it difficult? What is the state now?
That's one challenging part to it, right? We try to educate our clients, but it's something which is each to its own. You cannot force upon something to a client. So if somebody who is mature enough to understand these things, they do take up these subjects with us and they do address it with us. But somebody who still wants to have a fancy facade and have those cosmetic things, I'm okay with that also.
So how much is the percentage that they understand your vibes and your real design principles and on the rest of the people? I mean, say what percentage is that almost?
With my small experience, we just had 0.5% of people in totality who would want to accept 0.5% only.
Only?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's very less.
More earlier panel discussion, we were discussing about the affordability and the sustainable housing. Before making sustainable buildings, we have to be sustainable. We have to make ourselves to live at 27 degree, not at 16 degree. Right? So if we want to change ourselves, we have to change ourselves first. Then we can make them grow. And this is exactly what he is saying. Only 5% or 0.5% people are there. Now we are going for VRV systems in the housing. No ventilation, nothing. Fixed glasses, no windows.
So it has come to a situation where first of all the mindset also needs to be changed other than the designing practices and the principles which you are talking about. So good that at least we understood the psyche of the consumers now. So I would now shift to focus to architect Ishan Chona on the same thing. So, I mean, I had already spoken about this. I would like your experience also. Are you able to convince consumers? Like he said, 0.5 only. So, what is your experience on that?
Actually, I would like to cater upon the point that if we talk about sustainability,
Yes.
it's not much more practical at the sites to go it, right? Being a young architect working, practicing, I am fond of working in eco-friendly design, but using the elements, be it the green architecture,
Right.
be it the rainwater harvesting systems.
Right.
If we talk about the healthcare, hospitality or the public sectors, be it the STP, ETP plants, be it for the public health, be it the solar electric as well as the solar water heaters plants, and lastly a balanced amount of landscape on the entire site part. Yesterday only I was actually discussing for a site with Pankaj ji regarding a 4-star hotel we are coming up in Ambala. So it was, yeah, rather the cladding of the Alstone. But if we talk about what we actually cladded, it's a part on the Alstone. So what we actually cladded was the entire building is done in Gwalior. So like ma'am said, vernacular is not traveling 1000 kilometers, but yeah, we are using the Indian stone, right? Secondly, it is important for sustainability also, but tangibly it is helping the client in future.
Very true. Exactly.
Right. There is a sleek thread between sustainability and costing. Because costing is involved in sustainability, but in the long run, if the consumer understands that the running cost of the building is reduced, right?
Because of the energy reduction.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, talking about, reading about carbon footprints and all, reducing the U values and all, everything that is right, but practically on ground it becomes certainly difficult to actually convince the consumer to do it. But yeah, in tier 2 and tier 3 cities where we are coming up with a good sector of healthcare, we are coming up with a good sector of hospitality these days. So people are actually wanting to go for it, because if we see what practical things we can do, we are using the AAC blocks, air aerated basically. So I myself have felt the temperature difference between the buildings inside and outside for 4 to 5 degrees, right? Secondly, if you are using the STP or the ETP, ETP basically for the biochemical waste disposal of the healthcare, that is a norm to be followed, right? So we are using that water for the irrigation and landscape purposes, reducing the municipal load of the water, and then we are actually following the water saving norms. Correct?
Excellent.
Exactly. Secondly, we are doing the like the hotel I was telling about. We have done a great courtyard in the hotel. So with that, we are actually reducing the urban heat. We are making a habitat for the flora and fauna of the local area to develop again, right?
Very true.
And secondly, I want to say that we are actually making the city livable. This was the reason people are migrating in the corona times from Bombay, Delhi to Chandigarh, being a non-metro beyond the metro.
Exactly.
Correct?
Very true. So thank you so much. I think you talked about the basic practical material and the principles that you're using to make sure that it is more eco-friendly. So thank you so much, and this is very insightful, I would say, because those are the practical points which you are actually using and you are implementing it day in day
This is the reason I would like to just put upon that it is correct that experience matters, and I do respect it. But in the time of upcoming technology and AI, it's the young architects who can do it.
I appreciate that, and these days knowledge is available all across. So it is only a matter of how you are able to convince the consumer. Actually, the end consumer is the person who has to, because we are working for them, and eventually we have to make sure that the environment friendly, all the designs are environment eco-friendly also.
When we make him understand that he has the running cost of the building entirely cut down.
So that's the cycle.
So that's the cycle. Everything depends on when the money is cut down. No, he is convinced.
So good. So we had a good round of discussion on one point, that what are consumers looking for, what are the challenges that you are facing, how are within those challenges, what are the opportunities that are lying to make eco-friendly and sustainable designs from the consumer's point of view. Now let's talk about the infra part. So we'll have one round of session on the infra part, on how the infra is getting developed. So to start with, again, I will come back to architect Khurram Ali on this. Sir, how do you think about the drainage system and the waste management being done in Haryana, all these suburb cities right now, which are supposed to be future metros and all? I mean, is it in line with what it should be? Because I think we would have learned a lot of things from metros as of now, that waterlogging, the spurious drainage system that we have, and the kind of traffic jams and everything. So, what kind of drainage system and waste management? Now you see there are a lot of mountains on all the outside the metros of the garbage mountains. These days, people talk about it, and it has become a monument as such. So how are we developing all these basic infrastructure so that the garbage management system as well as drainage system is better, and we do not fall into the same trap which metros are there right now? So on this.
Sir, first we are creating a problem, then we are talking about the solutions.
Very true.
We are talking in an environment where we have plastic bottles in front of us. The AC is very cool. Apart from AC, you are wearing a dress which is used in winter times basically. So sustainability is basically not in our attitudes.
Exactly.
I have travelled from by my car. Everyone I think has travelled here by their own car, and there is no mean of public transport, I think. So we are creating waste in first go. So we are not sustainable in our life attitude, right? So first we need to think about the core of this problem. So the solution lies here in India only, because I don't see any country more sustainable than India. If we go into the pastime or in the root cause of root context of the lifestyle. मैं अगर अपने बचपन की बात याद करूँ, या किसी हम आर्किटेक्चर में जब हम रूरल स्टडी के लिए गए थे, तो हम एक गांव में गए थे. तो गांव में अगर हमने उनके लाइफस्टाइल पैटर्न को समझा, तो अगर घर में रोटी बनी, खाना बचा, 2 रोटी बच गई तो गाय को दे दी. अगर सब्जी बच गई तो देयर आर पिग्स अराउंड, डॉग्स अराउंड, क्रोज अराउंड, स्पैरोज अराउंड, आंट्स अराउंड. बट वी डोंट सी एनी ऑफ दीज क्रिएचर्स इन द मेट्रो सिटीज़, बिकॉज हमने इन सबको डंडा मार मार के बाहर निकाल दिया. तो अगर हमारी बायोडाइवर्सिटी नहीं रहेगी तो हमारे सिस्टम्स खामखा कॉम्प्लिकेट होंगे. अब मैं आज की डेट में अगर अपने डस्टबिन की तरफ देखूं, तो उसमें बेसिकली है क्या जो वहाँ नहीं होना चाहिए. वो बेसिकली वहाँ है इसलिए क्योंकि हमने अपना लाइफस्टाइल मेट्रो के नाम पे चेंज कर दिया. मेट्रो सिटी जब डेवलप हुई तो उसको उस प्रिंसिपल को ध्यान में रखते हुए प्लान अगर किया होता तो मेट्रो सिटी भी होती और सस्टेनेबिलिटी भी होती और सब कुछ होता. तो जो सिटीज़ तो बन गई जहाँ पर हमें बारिश के दिनों में बाढ़ महसूस हो रही है या गर्मी महसूस हो रही है बहुत ज़्यादा, वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन जो अब होने वाला है एटलीस्ट हमें उसकी तरफ ध्यान देना चाहिए. तो हमारे जो ये प्रिंसिपल्स थे, हमें इसको टैकल करना चाहिए. हमें इसको इतने ब्रॉड कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लेवल तक लेके ही नहीं जाना कि वो माउंटेन बन जाए. वी कैन रिजॉल्व इट एट आर माइक्रो लेवल. मतलब अगर 10 घरों की एक कम्युनिटी है तो वहीं पर ही उसके अंदर के सारे वेस्ट को ट्रीट कर देना चाहिए. बेसिकली रिड्यूस, रीयूज एंड रिसाइकल आर द 3 प्रिंसिपल्स दैट वी कैन यूज़ फॉर इट. एंड सेकेंडली मतलब कि इन चीज़ों को बहुत ज़्यादा दूर तक लेके नहीं जाना है हमें. जैसे गार्बेज की बात कर रहे हैं, वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम होना चाहिए. ड्रेनेज की आप बात कर रहे हैं तो देयर हैज़ टू बी प्रॉपर सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट, यूटीपी ईशान वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट. तो हम इस पानी को हम अपने आसपास की लैंडस्केपिंग में यूज़ कर सकते हैं, जिससे हमारी वेजिटेशन एंड लैंडस्केपिंग के लिए एक्सेस वाटर की डिमांड बहुत हद तक रिड्यूस हो जाएगी. एंड वी विल बी एबल टू ब्रिंग दैट डाइवर्सिटी. अगेन अगर ऐसी भी दिक्कत नहीं है तो हमारे पास और भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें, दैट बायोगैस प्लांट हम लगा सकते हैं, और हम अपने ये जितना बायोडिग्रेडेबल वेस्ट है उससे बहुत कुछ बना सकते हैं. आई थिंक इन माई पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देर इज़ नथिंग वेस्ट ऑन दिस अर्थ. इफ़ वी गो इन टू द पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स, so there will be a lot of vendors coming into our house, take our waste and earn money for that without charging anything from us. आज की डेट में मेरे घर से कूड़ा उठाने के लिए भी मंथली चार्ज किया जाता है, बल्कि आई एम गिविंग समथिंग टू दैट पर्सन. सो देर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद अस, आवर एटीट्यूड. द एटीट्यूड वी आर कॉपिंग इज आई थिंक वो कहीं ना कहीं गड़बड़ वहाँ पर.
Exactly. So I mean, you have enlightened lot many things in this. One is about creating our own attitude towards minimalistic, sustainable factors. Then you talked about the biodiversity, very important. I mean, if we get back that, I think the waste itself will get reduced. And third, you talked about even if it is created, how to recycle it and refurbish it so that we reduce at first level only we reduce it. So, are we able to do it, some of these things here in Haryana now in all these suburbs? I mean, is it happening or, because these are very good idealistic things. Unfortunately, the first thing is the mindset. In fact, we are also a part of it now. We cannot blame anybody else. So, do you think, are we able to do this?
मैंने बताया इसमें we can create some schemes और some NGOs can come up और public private partnerships में हम कुछ ऐसे proposals, ऐसा नहीं है कि गवर्नमेंट के पास नहीं है, there is lot of theoretical data, but again we have associations, architect association, lawyers association, public associations, residential welfare associations. So these ideas can be floated in any of the forum and put into the process, and government can be incorporated into this system and bring it into a ground reality. अकेले एक आदमी के करने से तो देखो नहीं हो सकता, because एक social system में तो architects का I think एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है, because we are at least concerned about these solving problems and we notice these problems. Right. So we can do that.
Excellent. I think you have actually talked about a cause wherein we can have a collaborative platform where the government as well as the communities, they can come, this creative fraternity, maybe some manufacturing units also. I mean, everybody can come along and then create kind of a community where collectively we can do this job rather than one person. Again, coming back to now, architect Himanshu Suri, how do you think that as a creative fraternity we are trying to do, because architect Ishan also talked about this. One is that how are we trying to create this environment friendly or biodiversity kind of thing, or because attitude change is a different thing. I cannot put it on this fraternity as such, because this is a common thing all across. But how are we trying to do this one, and how are we trying to use material which will be, because material is something which as an architect we have to suggest to the thing, and many of the people, or rather most of the consumers, they have to agree to it. Now I would say forcefully or amicably, whichever way. So what do you think? There are two questions actually. One part is that how are you trying to create the similar thing which he talked about, and what are the materials, I mean, where you actually get into that, okay, this is a better material and eco-friendly and let's force this to the consumer. So because sometimes you have to create forcefully the attitude also. So how are you doing it? So, and what are the challenges and opportunities? The same.
So I second my opinion with Khurram Sahab on it. So the idea of sustainability, managing your own waste, it has to go back not only to the community level, but it has to go back to our education. It is the sense of ownership that I need to own my own waste. I have to have a sense of responsibility on it and manage it on my own. You come back to the topic of suggesting materials which are eco-friendly or come out of waste. So as ma'am said, you cannot suggest a material जिसको transport करना ही 1000 किलोमीटर से पड़ेगा. So again, the onus comes back to the community, right? So the basics is the challenge. You have to start from somewhere, and that start has to come up from the education level. The societies have to be educated. We ourselves have to, we are conscious about it. As architects, as designers, as interior designers, we are conscious about the waste. We see waste mountains, but there are a lot of people who probably cross by it. It's just a regular sight for them. Right? It happens to be there.
But are you able to force those materials which you feel are at least some level eco-friendly, and let's force it to the consumers and try to use it? Is it possible?
So there is a lot of options available in the market. As Ishan also said, he's using aerated double AC blocks. So that is something which is not ready, something available not at a very short distance. Okay. So manufacturers, बढ़ने शुरू हो गए, अवेलेबिलिटी मिलनी शुरू हो गई, तो प्रोडक्ट्स यूज करने शुरू कर दिए. अब आपको इको फ्रेंडली मटेरियल, you go back to, there's a place called Auroville in India, right? So you go back to Auroville, they teach you, they take education programs, they teach you how to use stabilized earth construction. They don't want to use cement, they don't use steel. They teach you how to use stabilized earth construction, right? So that is something which can be adapted anywhere. Any particular single site, a single residence which has this, probably they're using 50,000 or a lakh bricks. They can bring that handmade machine done here. But who's going to take that effort? Who's going to put that effort into it? Right? I'm here to educate you. You are doing a house. You don't have that time to do it. You would opt for something which is more conventional. Right? So it has to go back to the basics. how it go back to the basics is probably the best way is to educate ourselves and the communities and the education level, the base platform.
So it boils down to the same thing that our attitude as a community, we have to create those mindsets to get back to the sustainability rather than going to the fancy things. Good, right. So again, one more important factor which is there in metros like transportation. So I would come back to architect Ishan on this because he has talked about a lot of methods which he has been using. So I mean in Haryana right now, supposing cities like Karnal, Kurukshetra, Hisar, Sonipat, Panipat, all of them are upcoming metros only as I see. So what kind of a public transport that we are trying to create so that we do not get into those traffic jam situations which metros are facing right now, which she also talked about recently. So I mean, is there something happening on this?
So actually I would like to conclude upon 2 or 3 points or the agendas being done by the government and which are in planning or being incorporated in cities like Chandigarh or Panchkula, or they are in the master plan of the government to be done. I'd like to talk about the bus rapid transit system which is in master plan to be done, and in Panchkula or the complete transit mobility of the Tri-City, it's done. Secondly, if I talk about the non-motorized transport systems, so if I talk about the City Beautiful, we have seen ourselves the incorporated cycle tracks, the urbanism being done, the incorporated walking streets, and for the shortest distance travel I'm talking about.
This is happening right now?
This is done in Chandigarh and in plan in Panchkula. Obviously will be done in Mohali also.
Because ultimately now we have to replicate those here in say Karnal and then Kurukshetra and then Sonipat and Panipat.
Next, I would like to come upon the electric mobility system being done by the government as well as right? So if I talk about the transport system being in the city, electric buses, which is actually sustainable. Secondly, it's being used by public. Thirdly, if people are aware of the metro being coming to the Tri-City, which will cater up till Derabasi and Laladu.
Okay.
So people travelling from Ambala and Chandigarh will have a boom.
Try to connect the last mile thing that
Yes,
you said. Okay.
yes. I am not sure whether the route map is final till now or not, but yes, it is coming to Chandigarh. Secondly, I would actually talk about the electrical mobility system, what I was actually talking about. So due to that, we are actually developing the livable cities, converting them into smart cities, right? So again, on the same point, developing the non-metros, which have a bright future beyond the metros.
Understood, sir. So it seems that some of the planning is going on, rest is...
One more point I'd like to conclude is the smart parking systems, the multi-level car parks.
Yeah, I was about to talk about this, so now you can come...
Yeah. So recently in Ambala, a multi-level car park has been done, inaugurated by Shri Anil Vijji, and it has solved a huge major issue of traffic congestion in the main epicenter market. It is in the master plan of tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well.
Good. I think thank you. You have enlightened us with what is going on right now, and maybe as a community we'll have to keep forcing government to keep doing this all across so that we have a last mile connectivity throughout with the public transport, so people get into a tune of not using their own transportation system rather than going for the public transport system.
Just adding to it, so that when we say walk, doesn't mean in the park. That also means to my nearest workspace or nearest shop or something like that. Which we have,
There you can little bit walk to.
Yeah,
exactly. Because we don't have a place to walk. We don't have a footpath. So when we say walk, we just say, okay, let's go for a walk in the park. So it has to be inculcated in our daily.
This is the reason for shorter distances, Chandigarh has done that.
Yeah, talk to the kids also, obviously.
I understood. So, I mean, it is getting now very informative, and you know, people are getting engrossed into this. I suppose it is very enlightening to all. So, coming back to architect Sachdeva, I mean, what do you think? Are we really preserving our heritage of Haryana and the culture while we are developing through all this? Are we doing this?
See, what I
Or
see...
we are trying to do this, or we are able to do this? I mean, both ways.
Yes. What I see, perhaps we all are not able to preserve the cultural heritage
Oh, that's really...
protection. Because the rapid growth or urbanization, how it can be possible? You see, if you have to see, if you have to solve the problem, you have to protect the culture and heritage protection. Then you will have to go for the local arts and crafts, and we learn our clients about the traditional activities. और हमें अपने बच्चों को भी सिखाना पड़ेगा, लाइक उनको बिल्डिंग के तरीके से सिखाना पड़ेगा कि हमें सर्वे कराना पड़ेगा कि किस टाइप की बिल्डिंग्स होती थी, जैसे हम जिस टाइप की बिल्डिंग में बैठे हैं नूर महल में, इसी को अगर हम देखें तो इसका जो फैसाड है कुछ है, तो ये लाइक कल्चरल हेरिटेज के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी है, लेकिन जो आज की रैपिड ग्रोथ है उसमें हमें लगता नहीं एबल है.
That's really sad though, but then I was hoping that something will come out here wherein we can preserve our heritage and culture along with this. But situation seems a little grim. I hope all of us will work towards that, having our culture back and all that. Maybe I'm sure individually cannot do again, as you said, there are a lot of things. And we are positive.
Just little to
Yeah,
it.
please.
See, the problem is that we have lot many people from Haryana and Punjab who are shifted to Canada or European countries. So you must have seen lots of building coming up as neoclassical or classical. So the actual existence of Haryana or that, that cultural architecture is going away. So what we are doing is we are creating a mini London or a mini Canada here, and forgetting our actual architecture.
I understand this point and this challenge is there. So in fact, this brings to the last question, because anyways we have paucity of time there, so we can debate and discuss. This is a very vast topic to talk about. I would like to speak to architect Neeraj Gupta on this. I think, I mean, we talked about essential like road and transport right now. What about educational institutions, hospitals, all these essential services where we are talking about community centers, parkings and malls? What kind of scenario is happening in all these upcoming cities? Like, are we trying to create this? Because I think building culture again brings back to, if we have recreational centers and all, where people go back and learn some classical singing, music, probably we can still create some of it. So are we able to do, because hospitals are required when the population is coming, then you need community centers also if you want culture to be built back. Then you further need education. Now education institutions, people are going outside there if they can get better education. So are those things are also developing along with the population and all these things? I mean, is it happening here or still far off from that?
Yeah, you can see so many gyms, so many health spas everywhere in the cities.
This is more of a foreign culture, I mean, I would say.
Hospitals, spas, makeover studios, and multi-speciality hospitals, everywhere it is coming. This is everywhere.
So I mean, then again, this brings back to the same point which we have talked about. I think collectively, public-private participation is required to create this kind of culture back. I mean, where we have essential services as well as recreational portions. So as of now, it seems that it is some of the part of it is going the right way, as architect Ishan, as a young architect says, so which is very heartening. But I think some part of it requires our own attitude changes. Rather than looking towards Western or urban things, we should go back to our basics and start looking towards biodiversity and getting all these basic infrastructure right. So I think thank you so much. I hope all the audience got enlightened with all those things. Thank you so much all of you for being here and enlightening on this very, very major topic, which is, I mean, I would say hot topic right now, because we are sitting on the bomb right now, which will explode any time in the form of metros. So thank you so much for being there and enlightening the entire audience, and I myself got so many ideas. I mean, thank you so much. All the very best. Thank you so much. Please. Yeah.